It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a modern podcast where we talk about everything that's great, like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate, oh yeah.
Hello everyone and welcome to Superhero Slate, the show where we run down the latest superhero entertainment news.
We love TV, movies, and superheroes, so let's talk it all out.
My name is Chris.
And my name is Mike.
And this week, we're giving our thoughts on Marvel's new Echo series, which is less than a week old, right? We're also going to take a look back at What If Season 2, now that we've both seen all the episodes on that. I think you watched them all, right? All of them?
Yes.
Perfect. Big news, Star Wars, The Mandalorian and Grogu is heading to theaters in 2025, surprisingly.
I forgot that was
I think that was like the biggest news, but we got some other stuff to talk about and more.
If you can't tell, some of us more than others are battling the elements here in North America. I don't know if it's being called like a polar vortex or a icy thumb, or I don't know what the lingo is.
Jack Frost is
nipping
at my nose if I was to use a phrase for the holidays.
His holiday's done. He was supposed to be done in December. He's associated with Christmas as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
so get out of here.
I guess sure. He's just in a song in December. I don't think it's a season. I think it's a little unfair, Mike. You gotta, let's build him up a little bit. Let's give him January. But that's all he gets to the end of January. Then get out of here. But no.
So we're doing. I mean, even for like LA standards, it's a bit nippy out here. If you're gonna go out, in the middle of the day, usually never requires a jacket. Might actually require a jacket, especially if you're in the shade. And the more intense side of that coin would be you, who is dealing with windshields that feel like they're in the negatives, yes. Which I can't even imagine anymore.
Yes, we are in negative. The next couple of days, it is single-digit temperatures here in the Midwest. A lot of people more north of me got snow. They got snow. They got ice. Feet of it even. So I do consider myself lucky for that. And if anyone is in that weather, you're either having a good time making your snow angels, building your snowmen, and staying safe, and hopefully you have power and heat and can enjoy that time with your family.
God, I don't know. Don't go outside, people. No snow angels, no snowmen. Stay inside.
Is it
stream whatever you can stream?
Well, I mean, here's the thing. Is it like for people up north? Is this ice fishing season? Is this ice fishing weather that you're looking for people to do that? I'm not saying I agree with it, but it is a thing.
I would think the season is purely dictated on the thickness of ice. I saw somebody back home in the Midwest. I don't remember who it was. It was a Facebook share, and it was like this luxury like ice fishing cabin, which is just like really funny because it just looked like the inside looked like a luxury RV or something, but it just happened to have holes in the floor where you drop like your fish. So like there is a scenario where somebody could be streaming this podcast right now, or they could be watching Disney Plus and then also have like a pole in the water catching fish. The odds are low, but if that is you right now, I
there's a niche audience out there for that, and I do want to know. Maybe they're watching Frozen, Mike. Do you think they'd be watching Frozen on the frozen lakes?
As long as it's not Frozen 2, I'm okay with it.
I don't mind.
The first one is superior and will help you catch the most fish scientifically.
I have no preference. I have no allegiance to Frozen 1 or 2 or 3 or Olaf's Summer Adventure. But I was going to ask you...
There's no third one. Chris, you fool. You fool.
I keep seeing articles. They're announcing them.
I can tell you have no credibility in this Frozen.
Oh, except for the ones they've announced. Like they've got Toy Story 18 in the tube, Mike, and Frozen up to 10 probably. But I was going to ask you, how many C's does ice's thickness need to have before you can walk on it? But I feel the time has passed for the thick ice joke, so we will melt away into this. For anyone who's catching us on YouTube, or even if you're on the podcast, and you haven't subscribed or liked or left a review, we encourage you to like and subscribe our channel on YouTube. Apple Podcast, Google Play, wherever, Spotify, leave us a review. We love to see that kind of stuff, so please do. But other than that, I think go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I recommend if you're listening on your phone, take a screenshot, and then if you're connected to a Wi-Fi printer, I don't care whether it's yours or not, just print out our podcast on your phone a couple different times. I'm sure that'll help.
Yeah, Apple killed that the AirDrop thing for everybody a couple years ago, where you can just randomly AirDrop people. So you can't really send our podcast to people randomly AirDrop. So I guess you got to go back to the old school methods, right?
Here, one last plea before we move on with the show. If you're on an airplane, and you have that chat feature where you can just randomly send messages to a different seat on the plane, just tell somebody to like and subscribe to Superhero Slate.
Oh, that'd be fantastic. I think I was gonna say, are you gonna suggest that they create a sign, print it up, and put it in their neighborhood?
I like that too.
A big hey, have you lost podcasts, have you listened yet, kind of thing, and get people to stop and look at it.
Yeah, bolt and affix it to the parking restriction signs on your street. That'd be great.
Yeah, right in front of the word "stop" on those red ones, because people are slowing down to look at that sign. So yeah, that's definitely prime real estate. But we don't have anything else to talk about before we jump in here, because we spent. I'm going to go ahead and admit I have not finished Echo. Mike has watched all the episodes, and it's not because of the show. I will be honest. It's one of those weeks where I'm just like, I'm going to watch it all on Tuesday. I've got the plans, and then you have to work late, more nights than you expected, and then you have obligations on the weekend because everyone's birthday's in January for some reason. So I'm not going to watch everything yet, but I feel equipped to talk about Echo, Mike, on Disney Plus, and several listeners did send in some of their thoughts on it. After last week, or this week, so I'm excited to talk about Echo, which is now streaming in its entirety, dropped all at once on Disney Plus. One of the the third or second experimental release schedule they've done in the past month, right? And we'll talk about What If, the other one, here in a little bit. So all five are there. It's rated TVMA, so if your Disney Plus parental controls are on to not allow TVMA or mature content for that profile, you probably won't see it. I honestly don't know anyone, and this is just probably my circle, Mike, who has set up parental controls on Disney Plus. But this seems to be, again, with Deadpool and stuff coming down the road, this is definitely what you have to do before. You don't want your kids going from Bluey to Deadpool 2 on accident in the same app. But
I disagree.
Well, yeah, I guess. Yeah, potato, at the end of the day. I don't know what to say about the show, Mike. I mean, we can jump into the discussion. I don't feel, to me, I will say, if you've not watched it, you can, and you don't want to hear anything, you can skip to the next things. We use time codes in the show. However, I will also say, for those people who haven't watched it yet, there is a post-credit scene after episode 5, so you want to stick around for that for the show.
Yeah, it's an overall, it's a pretty quick binge. I let Chris know after I finished the series, and while he was trying to fit it into his schedule, it gets progressively shorter, the episodes, as you move through it. And I feel like a lot of our series that have been closer to 5 episodes, whether you're talking about like Star Wars or Marvel, usually they're punching around like an hour to 45 minutes long. So this one you start to really, really barrel through once you lay into it. So you could really quickly finish this one through. Chris and I were chatting before we started recording that the first episode is kind of like a recap. It's also kind of a primer. Chris, you described it as a prologue. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, what did you think about like these first 2 episodes? I say avoid any major spoilers, obviously, since we're talking about this at the top of the show. But since you've only seen the first 2, how are you feeling?
Yeah, so I fully expected this show to start with the recap, right? Like previously on Hawkeye, for all intents and purposes, right? Because that's where we met Maya / Echo last time. So I was fully expecting that to be right away. However, we get to learn more about the Choctaw Indian culture and I would say the people and their beliefs earlier on. And I honestly did not expect this at all. And the first episode does kind of starts, I would say, it's very chronological as well. Like when we said the prologue episode is like, it starts way back when and then moves its way forward, right? You get to see a lot of how did Maya lose her leg, a little bit more about her family life, and just kind of chronologically kind of caught us up to where the series kind of takes off right before the end. I will say one of my favorite characters so far, Mike, is a man named Biscuits for some reason. Why is his name Biscuits? I don't know yet. Maybe they will explain it. Yeah, and I was like, oh, and what's his dog's name? I think Billy Jack, I think is his dog's name. And I was like, yeah, we're definitely in Oklahoma here. The first episode, I would say, it really just gets you up to where things are today. And the second episode kind of puts like, I guess maybe a trajectory on the series, right? Like that first episode 2 is essentially what I would say the first of 4 episodes is what it feels like, right? Because that first episode gets you up to where kind of everybody is with that. Very much, I would also say it's one of the shows that you can't be on your phone a lot for, because a lot of it is subtitles because of Maya's she signs for a lot of it, right? So if you don't hear things, you have to read the screen, and if you don't, if you're not paying attention, you don't read it, you're going to miss out on essentially most of her dialogue. Now there are some parts in there. Again, we know from the trailers, like Kingpin. I think his is an interesting thing because he uses a translator, right? So he still talks, but he has a signer, not translator, signer, for some of that stuff. So I think it's really fun. I would say the other part I really enjoy is the use of sound in some of the action scenes as well. We'll talk about that probably a little bit for maybe if we get into just a hair of spoilers later, and we'll let people know. But overall, I'm enjoying myself. I actually expected, out of 2 episodes, I expected maybe more of a train wreck, maybe more of a disjointedness. But I think the actors, again, what is her name? The actress's name, who plays Echo Mike.
You can just call her Maya.
Yeah, I say Echo Maya. She's really, really, really solid. Wears a lot of, she has to do a lot of acting with her face and body. So I think that's great. The ancillary characters are interesting. It's not Tamaha, but it's Tamaha. Is that, I believe, how they pronounce the town they're in? Very, I wouldn't say enriched in Native American Choctaw culture, but it is. There are a lot of the ancillary characters are of that heritage there, and I think the actors are great. I think they did, again, Marvel never has a bad job with casting and actors. It's everything else. So I was actually very thoroughly impressed, surprised, and I enjoyed the first 2 episodes. I can't wait to watch the other 3. I'm looking at, like, I did the math. You said they're kind of short. I'm like an hour and a half to do the back half of the series fairly quickly. So we're probably going to try to catch that tonight after we jump off this recording, or maybe tomorrow if we can in the evening. But yeah, overall, I was expecting worse. Now again, I haven't seen the back half. Maybe the train derails, wink wink, if you will. But I don't know on that regard. Mike, how about yourself? You've seen the whole thing. You don't have to give me the first 2. You can give me your reactions, or if you want to talk about the first 2, or however you want to do it.
Yeah, you brought up a good point with it does demand a little bit of your attention, since we're talking about a character here who is mute and deaf and relies primarily on sign language. And it is kind of nice when she ends up kind of rejoining with her past in a way, that she gets to find more people that do speak sign language. It's like, oh, these are her people, this is her home, this is nice that she can kind of be herself, even though she's kind of not in her primary New York City where we first met her. This is one thing that I think that is kind of important when you're looking at these more like mainstream kind of outlets and universes like Marvel, where yes, I know that there was that Academy Award nominated, and I think it also won, that movie Coda, where the characters rely on sign language. I know a lot of people didn't see that movie because it was kind of an art house movie. I'm sure it was great, but I never saw it, right? But you have this more mainstream TV show that is going to show this to a lot more people, and on top of that, you have a lot more Native American representation. I mean, we might talk about that a little bit when we talk about What If Season 2. So I do think that's really, really cool, because not necessarily because we're, highlighting, a culture and a group that really doesn't get a lot of representation. From a selfish point of view, I just like it because I'm watching something that I just haven't seen before. I mean, like, I feel like I am terminally in front of a screen sometimes ever since, I've been a kid. I love watching TV and movies. So it's just nice to finally just get a new origin for a character, a different background, something a little bit more unique. So it almost feels like that we found like a new well and we're pumping some new creativity out of the ground,
It also feels like educational, right? I hate to say that, but like, I don't, when I do a lot of research online, but I never stop to think like, oh, I wonder what, again, the Choctaw Nation, what are their beliefs? What are their, origins, right? Or what do they think they are? Stuff like that. Like, where do they come from? Where they, centralized. And I feel like I'm getting education as well in this. Like, it's not like, oh, this is edutainment, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, but I'm like, oh, okay, they're giving me stuff, they're feeding me things, so I understand the characters and the culture in history, but also like I'm like, oh, I could, I'm not gonna have a conversation, but I'm like, I get it a little bit more. And again, like you said, What If as well. I would say it's been I did enjoy that. So absolutely. So continue. Sorry, I didn't interrupt you there.
Yeah, and it's great just to have. I mean, there's so much more representation out there growing. I mean, you have Rutherford Falls that was streaming on Peacock. Reservation Dogs. Yep. Prey. We have like Echo and What If. So it's nice to have that out there. I mean, and even if you talk about Watchmen, the series when it was on HBO, they did like the whole plot revolved around Black Wall Street back in the day, and it's like, so I think this is a great way of just like, these things are entertaining but also just important for people to know. And it is kind of nice. It's giving more acting opportunities, because I feel like once you start watching all of these kind of like Native American like based stories, a lot of the actors reprise just like similar roles across them. So it's like, oh, great, I get to see this character again. I love them and that. So that's been kind of fun.
I was going to say it's two things. That one of the characters in this is actually a voice actress in What If season 2. So we'll talk about that in What If season 2, which is our next bullet point. But I also say the other part about this, to those who may be online, assholes, idiots, detractors, whatever. None of this things that we're talking about, the Native American culture, a female, it doesn't feel forced either. Like, it doesn't like, oh, you have to get into this, you have to do it. The guy Biscuits is a white guy with a beard, who can't drive a truck on the right hand side of the road. So I'm like, none of these characters, none of the stuff feels forced in this show. It feels like a natural evolution of it, and they don't have to like call it out along the way, right? One of my favorite moments, I would say, I think it's episode 2. Biscuits goes to the Native American. I think is it the grandpa's place where he builds things and fixes things and sells things. And he's like he's like it sounds like he's doing a chant or like something, but he's like, buy the damn thing, as he's like pounding the table, like he's saying it kind of like how the Simpsons did hi how are you kind of thing. He was like, buy the damn thing, and it's like they're playing off of it too, off of the thing, and I thought that was very entertaining, but none of it feels forced, and I think that's great. I believe
the actor that plays Biscuit is Native, but I think he's giving off that good old Southern boy.
Oh, is he?
He
hides it really, really well with that kind of.
Yeah, and the kind of like the half-wit personality, it just makes you think of like a dumb guy with a truck. So that's probably why you don't think of it right away.
What's that? Tucker and Dale versus Evil. He reminds me of.
The other guy. He does. Yeah, he does have the. Yeah, that guy does really feel like that. Yeah. I mean, overall, the action of the show, I love the action choreography. Whatever team is involved with that, and you'll get a little bit more of that in episode 3, is really, really great. I'd love to, if they're new, I want to see them keep working. If they've been around for a while, I'd love to see them elevate maybe to like bigger projects with more eyeballs. So I've really enjoyed that as well. There is some rough bits in the show where I don't know if some things were trying to be saved in editing, which is something that Marvel is pretty well known for. But there's a lot of scenes in the show where Maya hops on a motorcycle, drives from point A to point B, and you're just like, well, why did she even need to go there? Was it just because they wanted to show a shot of her on her motorcycle? So once you get into the show, by no means is this a perfect show, and I don't think the hype from the trailers really it lived up to it. Like, they were like, oh, you better set your parental controls because this is going to be insane. Like, really, by modern standards of action. I mean, yeah, you wouldn't want a kid to watch it, but this is by no means anything like graphic or brutal. I mean, there's like some blood, but
I would say it's like
you're not going to be wincing at any given time.
Like 20% John Wick. Like, if you take John Wick as a scale, like 20% up is like kind of what the show is.
Yeah, it's like John Wick if you had to edit it for like basic cable, or maybe like late night on a network channel, right? It's still good, great. I love how Maya, the character, there's no like scissor kicks, just because she's a female action star, they don't have her jump on somebody's shoulders and like spin around and take them down like it seems like every action female star does. She's like a bare knuckle brawler. She can get down in the dirt with any other kind of action star, and I really, really enjoyed that. So
I knew what you were about to say there.
There's some rough parts, and maybe and if we dive into spoilers, maybe later on next week after you finish it, we can get a little bit deeper into it. But overall, this is positive. This is a good direction, and I would say this is doing better than anyone thought it would, since this is still kind of stuck in that old Marvel streaming production line. Right, hopefully now that Daredevil is very much going to be coming off of this show in a way, is going to be run actually by a showrunner. So I'm looking forward to see where the character goes. This character is established and ready to go. I'd love to see where they pop up next. So overall, good. But like we brought up on the show before, this is a special presentation.
Nope. Spotlight.
So
it's a spotlight. Marvel Spotlight. They don't do special presentation.
Either way. I don't remember the terminology.
It's their new one. It's an even newer one.
There seems to be no guarantee necessarily for more seasons coming forward, but I think the character is going to be sticking around.
Yeah, I would say, after Secret Invasion, I would say both of our hopes for anything remnants, of the pre-production was pretty low, right? Like, coming off Secret Invasion, we're like, yep. Until the new stuff is up and going, we're not going to get anything worth watching. But I would say this kind of rebounds quite a bit in a good direction, right? Like, I think it helps. From what I can tell so far, it feels very focused. So that's a plus. I would say, since it's not spoilers because we've talked about it, Mike, but the Daredevil sequence, you get to see Daredevil at least once early on, maybe more later. I don't know yet because I haven't got there. But damn, I love Charlie Cox in the MCU. Like his Daredevil, like, just seemed more. He seemed so confident in the fight we saw him in that first episode, right? I was like, he's like patiently like turning around and like dodging like very, very easily, and I was like, ooh, this is really good. I'm like, he jumped through some shelving units, like, and I think it was like mostly a long cut too. Like he's doing a lot more. At Talak for my Super Troopers, he's jumping around all nimbly bimbly, if you will, in that scene.
Yeah, I would say overall the best review you can give for this show, that it has confidence and it has competence as well. So that's great. We want more of that going forward. So yeah, I'm looking forward to more from just the team, the directors, and the character.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll have it done by next week, so we'll talk about it then. But for those who have not had a chance, maybe you can go watch also What If Season 2, as all episodes streaming on Disney. Plus, we're going to talk about this. I would say I don't think there are spoilers, Mike, but we'll go ahead and just put like an asterisk if you've not seen it. We're going to be just talking about all 9 episodes. Some are connected, some are not, and we can kind of talk about what that is here for a little bit. But I do want to add a note here before we get into our discussion on What If Season 2, is that the showrunners were told that the characters have to debut in live action before appearing in What If, which is why we didn't get X-Men or Fantastic Four in the show so far, Mike.
Yeah. That makes total sense. I never assumed that they were going to be debuting any major characters in What If. I do like that they're kind of creating their own characters. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I said they're debuting unique characters,
Kahori,
but not existing ones.
Yeah, Kahori seems to be the standout, and this really isn't a spoiler because she was heavily leaned on in the promotional materials. I like her character. Her origin's really fun and unique.
Did you watch
the character carries over into other
Did
episodes?
you watch the one in her language, or did you watch the dubbed one? Subs or dubs on that one?
I believe it was in her. I believe just by default it was
okay,
in
cool.
her.
Yeah.
It was in the native language, so that was cool. I liked that. It was unique to see kind of like. I was trying to figure out exactly where this alternate world that she got warped to was, because I was like, were they in the Tesseract, or was the Tesseract?
I think it's another planet.
Bridging a portal. It wasn't entirely sure, but I was having fun overall. You know, it was a very it was a villain we could all unite against. You know, like a vicious colonizer. So that felt cool. I like the power set is fun. It's kind of a little ambiguous. So if this character persists more in the future, maybe kind of tighten it up a little bit, because it just kind of seems like she can kind of do anything, which kind of it's hard to wrap my brain around. I was like, well, she's super fast. She like shoots like energy beams. She can kind of levitate. She's basically a Dragon Ball Z character.
Yeah,
which is why it looks cool on screen.
Yeah, and she's powered exclusively by the Tesseract, or the Space Stone, if you will, as well. So they can be very fluid with that. Yeah,
so her character was cool. I liked how it was represented. I mean, overall, I felt like the action choreography was really, really cool in What If Season 2. And maybe this is just a continuation from Season 1. It's just been so long since I've seen Season 1. But there's really cool shots that I would expect to see just in any live action set piece. Like, it feels like they're really coming at it with the cinematic eye. Like you're talking about previously in Echo with Daredevil kind of like jumping through those shelving. I feel like there's 4 or 5 shots kind of like that in this season 2 of What If. So yeah, I thought the action choreography was all really cool.
Yeah. Well, I also want to say before we get off Kahori, Devery Jacobs, who plays is it Bonnie in Echo, the cousin? Is that her name, Bonnie?
The cousin.
She voices Kahori. So there is a connection. The voice actress for Kahori plays a live action character. Now they're not related, but not saying they couldn't make that work somewhere down the line if they wanted to either. But
yeah, she's also in Reservation Dogs as well. Yeah. So I wonder if maybe there's a little bit of a connective tissue there with like Taika Waititi and the MCU can see EPs on Reservation Dogs.
Yeah, maybe she's got a good agent to get her on this stuff. But yeah, I think season 2, I still think there's more definition in some of the episodes than season 1. Like season 1 to me is more like it feels like a less like just a couple color canvases, right, in my mind. When I think back on it, when I watch it, I'm like, yeah, it's fine. But like to me, it's like I think of the Captain Carter versus the Hydra Stomper episode, right? Like they really went out with like some of the backgrounds and like how detailed some of the areas they were actually kind of fighting and interacting with were for me, and I really enjoyed that a little bit. Some of the other stuff was more inside later on. The 1602 episode feels like you're in a castle the whole
Second
time.
to last episode, yeah.
Yeah, it feels like you're in a castle the whole time. I was trying to think. Did you enjoy Happy Hogan Saves Christmas, the Die Hard with Justin Hammer as the villain? Because I was like, this feels like a Mike episode. I was like, it feels like a Mike episode through and through.
It was great seeing Justin Hammer return because I really like the character, and they really nailed his like really awkward.
He
dancing.
did. They animated the
really
dance.
funny.
I can't believe they animated the dance in there. Yeah.
They're like, what are some mannerisms we should carry over? Like, well, definitely his weird dancing. Let's do that. And there's standout moments and there's standout episodes that I like, but there are 100% episodes I think I would just tell people to skip.
Mm-hmm.
I really didn't like the first episode all that much. Yep. What if Nebula joined the Nova Corps? Yep. I mean, it was fine. Like, all of these episodes are immaculately animated. They all look beautiful. I love all of the voice casting, even if the original actors don't come back. They have great replacements.
A lot of them are back.
There's some episodes that are just there's just some episodes that are less engaging than other. I wasn't the biggest fan of Peter Quill as like a teenager. It was fun to see like a unique collection of Avengers. You know, I like the what if of like, what if we needed the Avengers in the past, who would they collect? I like that thought process, but overall the episode is just like kind of culminates like in a desert battle.
Like that's like
it just wasn't very entertaining.
That feels like a carryover from season 1, right? Because it's like, oh, it's just a tan palette in, you know, at the end, right? And you're like, well, this is really not that fun. But I agree. The concept for that one was pretty strong, with that.
Yeah. Wasn't the biggest fan of Hela and the Ten Rings. It is fun to see kind of Hela maybe fall in more of kind of like the Thor archetype of like, oh, what if Hela was cast out? That was kind of like a fun what if question. But I just the problem is you have to tell so much story in 30 minutes that I can't believe Hela would make such a switch over to like good in that amount of time. You just need a whole movie for me to believe that.
Well,
but anything with Captain Carter, I love Captain Carter's stories. That's that second to last episode of 1602 is amazing because it's such a what if. It's like you really like everyone at the studio had to be on board, because people were drawing brand new character designs. They were giving Jon Favreau the most hilarious lines as that like kind of Shakespearean speak. That was hilarious.
But and they also borrowed his freak look from his Happy Hogan Saves Christmas in there as well. They gave him the Hulk thing, which I thought was a fun little nod if you'd watched the other ones. I don't think the Iron Man one, the Grandmaster, was very fun. Again, Jeff Goldblum came back and did all the lines, but it didn't feel like, why was that Gamora chosen for the previous season's team when the whole episode is about Tony Stark, right? Like, he did all that everything, but they chose Gamora to be on the multiversal team. So I'm like, why was she even in that episode? If you will, like, that was like my hardest way to wrap her. I'm like, why are you chosen here? Like, kind of deal. So that was fine.
It seems like it would have been more at home in the first season where it was originally supposed to premiere. And then the whole thing of like, oh, the whole story is going to resolve around like a car race, which feels more like Saturday morning cartoon to me and less like MCU. I mean, it was cool to see Iron Man kind of like build a transforming suit. That is a cool idea and element, but it did kind of feel maybe a little bit more juvenile. And I know it's a cartoon.
It's a cartoon.
In comparison,
it's a cartoon, Mike. You can let them have a fun one. I think it did feel like Wacky Racers, didn't it? Like, it was a Wacky Racers episode from Hanna-Barbera episodes. But it did all culminate. If you've seen the first season, the second season pays off having watched the first season, and then also I would say half of the episodes almost is right. You have the Captain Carter episode 1602. And Kahori, and then this one paid off with literally what I think, to Mike, again, if you've not seen this last episode, is a precursor into Battleworld / Secret Wars. If I wanted to see these versions, like true alternate versions of characters fighting each other in live action, use this as your example.
I like the structure of it, right? When you bring back kind of the Stephen Strange character that they established in the first season, he does kind of have these otherworldly powers, which are earned because it's an entire episode of him kind of like going crazy and for almost like an infinity amount of time, he's like learning and absorbing like this dark magic. So I believe that he can kind of do all of these things that, like, I like his line of just like the Watcher says he won't intervene, but I will. So I like this idea of he's starting to compare himself to like this godlike character. But really, I think if you wanted to distill What If Season 2 and kind of like the must-watch, if you just want the most bang for your buck and payoff, you watch Episode 6, which is the Kahori episode, mainly because we're establishing a brand new character, and then you go right into the last 2 episodes.
Well, I think you need...
Some of the other episodes kind of connect, but they're more like stingers at the end of the episode. Like, we all know Captain Carter has a thing for Steve Rogers, so that doesn't really have to be pre-established in a way. But like, if you just wanted like to cut to the core of What If Season 2, it's mainly those 3 episodes. I think the payoff at the end is really fun.
I still think you need 5. I think it's 5, 6, 8, and 9. I think What If Captain Carter Fought the Hydra Stomper is a payoff from Season 1, and it is fun to see some of the action that, and then the little stinger at the end leads into the other episodes. But I think you got to have that. The rest of them are okay. We have the Christmas episode, What If Happy Hogan Saved Christmas. I would say that's not a must watch, but that's a recommendation. I'm going to recommend that one as well. So there's a good half in here. I'm like, yeah, you got to watch it. But depending on your preference, do you like noir or Blade Runner? Because that Nebula joining the Nova Corps would tickle your fancy if you're into noir and Blade Runner, right? Like, not for us, but if you really enjoy that kind of world, I think those are really good. Hela Found the Ten Rings is very much the episode. If you essentially take the Shang-Chi movie and put Hela in instead of Shang-Chi, and then did the movie,
and then hit fast forward because you have to watch it all in 30 minutes. Is really what it feels like. But I mean, I don't want to spoil too much at the end of the last episode, but there is very much that cabin in the woods moment, and if you know, you know. When I say that at the end, so it's cool. And then there's moments where I don't want to spoil it because it's fun, but like the final action set piece in that last episode is fun and worthwhile. So now seeing Season 2 print and published and out to the masses, I would like to see more of this. It would be fun to keep it going. This is like a really nice compendium to the MCU at large, where it's a sandbox where you can have fun. But in my opinion, it does absolute require that kind of season finale. I need some sort of something to look forward to at the end of this journey, because if this was just all disjointed like one-off episodes that didn't connect, I might just entirely skip What If. Like, I don't need this ancillary content, but I like that it has that X factor of some of them connect and they do something big and exciting at the very end.
Absolutely. And I think they're going to continue that. And I don't think I think again, what my complaints about Season 1 were, it was just like, oh, just do the movie again with a different thing. This, like, there are literally, like you mentioned, brand new characters, brand new situations that we've never seen in this season, which was I think really brought me in a lot more. I think they had a lot more characters intermingle, right? I would say 1602 is a real fun amalgamation of characters in there playing in that sandbox, if you will. Like, that's the episode. If I had toys and I was like really into medieval times, like, I'd be making that like in my house, right, with the toys. So there are some really fun ones here, but at the same time, like, if they want to play with noir, they want to play with sci-fi, they want to play with wacky racers, go ahead and have a couple of those episodes. They don't have to tie in, like you said, but it's fun that you can find a winner in there if you want to, right? And I'm still always thoroughly impressed. They brought back so many voice actors. Like, Hela was voiced by the actress Cate Blanchett, right? Like the whole, like, in that episode, Jeff Goldblum did the Grandmaster. Sam Rockwell did Justin Hammer. So, like, a lot of them are still coming back and doing the voices, and I think that's really, really fun to do that. For that. But yeah, Season 3 is supposedly around the corner, and it looks like, from what I saw, the one clip that we shared a couple weeks ago, it will be, again, kind of continue that different structure, if you will, kind of down the road a little bit. So we'll see that. All right, so let's jump into the news. We have the news for the rest of the episode. We got quite a few topics to talk about. First, let's jump into Fantastic Four. Rumors are swirling. We're going to get a Fantastic Four cast soon. This week, actor Pedro Pascal dropped out of another film later in the year from the guy who did Barbarian, Zach Krieger, his movie, because he has another project that no one knows what it is that he's working on. People are like, well, it's Fantastic Four. He's supposed to be Mr. Fantastic. So, sure, why not? We've got another movie that he might not be in. He might just be a voice in for coming up too. So, he's in high demand right now, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, he's the cream of the crop, right? He's kind of like, I don't know if he's overtaken maybe the fiscal earnings of a one Dwayne Rock Johnson, but in like desirability,
quality,
he's up there in like the top 5.
Quality output, yes, absolutely overtakes it. Probably even quantity. Other than Fast 10 post credits, did The Rock have anything this year that we saw? Is Red Notice 2 out yet? I don't know. I didn't catch it, but hopefully maybe this week. They've got to start filming this. It's supposed to come out 2025, so my guess is they're going to start filming on it pretty soon, and we'll keep you guys posted when official information comes out. We are also in January, Mike, and January means we are on the cusp of getting to the Super Bowl. The big games coming up. We're going to be getting trailers galore because people need to make up for all the losses they had last year. And the trailer for the upcoming Deadpool 3 movie is rumored to debut at the Super Bowl, which is the only Marvel movie this year. So that makes sense they would dump their money into this. And who doesn't like to see a Ryan Reynolds commercial, right? Like, no matter if he's writing it, playing it, or being Deadpool, I would love to watch this at any given time.
I mean, he owns a commercial production company, so I got to imagine if they're going to the Super Bowl, the Deadpool commercial, I would expect maybe a full ad slot, not just like a 30-second teaser, go watch the full trailer now. Mm-hmm. I would think you go all out. You buy a full spot for Deadpool.
The only thing I can think of that they would also buy is if they did an Agatha show trailer or teaser. But that's like fall plan, so I don't think they're going to do that right away. So if they got the money, dump it into this. Now, I will say the other theories have been pointing towards Disney releasing 2 versions of this movie in theaters, a R-rated and a PG-rated versions to hit the larger market, right, for more people to go see these movies. And it's very similar to how Deadpool 2, not at launch, but later had that Once Upon a Deadpool version, which had the Fred Savage storybook version, which I think was edited down a little bit, right, to like a PG-13-ish rating. So from an advertising point of view, sounds great. Get more butts in seats. How do you differentiate the versions before you walk into it? That's the real trick. So, I mean, it would be
a little bit experimental, right? I usually don't launch with 2 different versions on the same day unless you're talking about 3D and IMAX, right? I mean, I guess it's up to the studio, right? But I mean, if you just look back at history, I mean, it only came out in R. The first one, and it made a ton of money, so I think they'll be just fine if they only release R, but I guess it's the Disney product now, so they got to be a little more
I wouldn't even say
it's
Disney product now. I'd just say it's more, how do we get more butts in seats? If the Disney audience is the PG rated or PG-13 and they don't want to go, it's fine. They don't need it. They'll make their money back off the R simply. And it's Ryan Reynolds, Hugh Jackman, right? Obviously, Wolverine? Was it Wolverine? No, Logan was R rated, right? I think the Wolverine was as well. So they don't really have to worry about it too much. But I can see them like, hey, we're testing release things. Like we have the money to test a version that's PG-13. If it doesn't, we'll just pull it from theaters and make it an R rated, screening kind of deal. So just like I would say, What If Season 2 and Echo, Disney's not afraid to experiment with different release schedules, probably even in theaters. So we'll see if that comes true or not. But like you said, they didn't even need it the first or second time to be successful. I think the how Once Upon a Deadpool was more of a like, hey, we're having fun. Like I think wasn't like because they had I just said the kid's name, Fred Savage, the adult Fred Savage, come in. They were like, we're going to have fun with this one rather than, hey, we're just releasing a dumbed down cut for people. Thunderbolts. We talked about this a little more than usual. The Stephen Yeun had dropped out as a Sentry, but now actor Austin Abrams from Euphoria is rumored to have the current offer to play the Sentry in the upcoming movie. I've not seen Euphoria.
I mean, this wasn't the guy I was expecting when I was like looking up Euphoria actors. I was like, oh, is it that big kind of like Chad muscly jock guy? And it's like, no. But I mean, I've seen this guy in other things before. He's in a Christmas series called Dash and Lily. He doesn't have a big part in Euphoria as far as I remember. I think he was really more highlighted in just one season.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, he's a good actor, but at the same time, I mean, I guess we really can't expect to have a body type cast for this role, right? You know, I keep thinking like big muscular Sentry guy, but I mean, Stephen Yeun isn't an actor that I would assume has like mass to him, right? I'm sure he could beat me up. I'm not saying that.
Yeah,
I'm probably any actor in Hollywood could beat me up because they go to the gym like twice a day. But yeah, I mean, I could still see this.
I think they're going to lean into the Robert Reynolds role a little more, like so I could see that from this actor as well. So if they want to get the cameras rolling on Thunderbolts, they're gonna need to get this going. So hopefully they can get them cast up and moving with that. So we'll keep you guys posted if anything comes up. You guys know that there's Sentry news is coming for me. So buckle up, Buckaroos. Daredevil Born Again's everyone's talking about this, especially after Echoes kind of tied into that a little bit. Actors Eldon Henson and actress Deborah Ann Wall are reported a new report to return in Daredevil Born Again after they were originally not going to be with the old series before the reboot happened, if you will. So this should make a lot of people very happy to see them return to this world. Something we didn't.
Are these? Were these? Is this Foggy and?
Foggy and Karen Page.
Karen. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's that whole thing we talked about last week of like, oh, is this in the broader MCU? Are we going to see Foggy again or not? I mean, at this point, I feel like it doesn't even really matter because if you really look at what a multiverse is supposed to be, it's just like an infinite realities, which just means there could be a version of a reality that looks really similar to Netflix's version, but maybe there's some small differences. So that never really caught me up all that much. But I'll be happy to see them back. I always really liked Foggy.
Yeah, the rumored story for that was that the show was going to open with Foggy having been killed, and that's why Matt wasn't Daredevil anymore for some reason. And then I don't know why they wouldn't have brought back Karen Page, but this feels like, hey, we've read the internet, we've heard people want more similarities to our Netflix show. So we're going to try to get as close to that as we can in our new vision as well. So I definitely think we're going to see a lot more, not necessarily cherry picked, but a lot of similarities from the Netflix things. Like, oh, okay, these characters are there. Some of these stories are very, very similar in that vein, or we don't have to know the story about Karen. Wasn't originally a reporter / lawyer or whatever. She was a victim in the first season. So I'd be interested. I still believe that the John Bernthal is coming back as well as a Punisher in this show. So we'll see. I'm excited. I'm excited to get back into Daredevil. I want some good Daredevil again. Wonder Man, the show from Destin Daniel Cretton from Shang-Chi, has resumed filming post the 2023 both writers and actors strikes. No one really was sure if the show was going to get kind of picked up, right? Marvel hadn't really officially announced it, I guess, or if they had, it'd been like kind of like one of those shows like, hey, we're retooling our shows. We don't need to go down this route again. And this could have been like one of the spotlight shows, could have been canceled, whatever. But they were filming. There were some set photos, and will apparently be focused on, again, big blockbuster actor whose name is Simon Williams, but he'll be using his hero name, Wonder Man, in the show because they had the banners with Wonder Man on it. So maybe that's his movie role he plays, if you will. Be played by actor, the actor who was Black Manta in Aquaman 2 recently, Mike. We'll be playing that.
Mm-hmm. Funnily enough, this is one of the few shows where your narrative could actually incorporate the writer's strike because it's about an actor in Hollywood. Mm-hmm. Doubt that'll happen, but it could be funny.
I hope this is a very meta commentary show on like acting and superhero movies and stuff like that. I know they are bringing back Ben Kingsley as Trevor Slattery in this, so there's some opportunity to reference his goofy Iron Man 3 stuff along the way. But we'll see. We'll keep you guys posted if anything else comes out of this as well. Big news this week before we got talking about everything else, Mike. Star Wars out of nowhere, out of left field. We've rumored this out, but like we kind of like, nah, it's not going to be true. They've announced The Mandalorian and Grogu, a new feature film starring Din Djarin and Grogu to hit theaters in 2025, Mike. We'll start filming this year.
Now, if you're a subscriber to Superhero Slate, you would have already heard us talk about this. Maybe even, I feel like it might have been months ago.
Like right after season 3 kind of dropped.
Year. Yeah, but it's been a minute. So this was kind of just more of like, a confirmation of the reports that we were hearing out there in the world. I don't really know what title you do give this movie. I mean, The Mandalorian and Grogu kind of makes the most sense. It could be it could be a placeholder, but I mean, it's pretty definitive of what it is. It's The Mandalorian and then, and Grogu. That's, I would say, the most ticket driving character for sure is going to be Grogu. I'm going to be on the posters all over the place for this movie for sure. I'm just kind of curious how this strategically kind of fits into the universe. How is the release going to look? Mm-hmm. Are we going to have a cliffhanger at the end of the movie that ties into Filoni's big kind of culmination movie? Are they going to have to kind of put some sort of like prologue at the front of the movie, mm-hmm. For people that maybe don't have Disney Plus and only go the Star Wars for the movies and not for the series? So I'm going to be more looking at the kind of strategy side of things and just crossing my fingers and hope we're getting a little more Mando season 1 and a little less Mando season 2.
So here's what I'm going to give you the facts first. Let's start with the facts. First fact is Deadline says season 4 of The Mandalorian is still in the works. So this is not a confirmation they transformed season 4 into a movie, but more than this, both in the works. Now let me get into the theory. There's two theories. One I want to share with you. One is the concept for season 4 of The Mandalorian is to instead of 8 episodes, the 6 episodes, take it down to 6 as a show, and the final 2 episodes or 3 episodes would be turned into a movie to kind of wrap this up. That way it's done, right? We wouldn't see the Mandalorian show anymore. Mandalorian and Grogu is how the series essentially wraps up. So to me, that sounds pretty good, right? That's what you kind of want out of a thing, like what 4 seasons in a movie, or mm-hmm. what was that one show they always said 5 seasons in a movie or something like that.
Community, 6 seasons in a movie.
Yeah, so 4 seasons in a movie. That's the way to do it. Sounds great. You leave on a cliffhanger on Disney Plus, and you tell them got to go finish this in the movies. Perfect, love it. The other part of this rumor is that this is the first part of 3 movies. So The Mandalorian and Grogu is part 1, and if it does well enough in theaters, that will be continued into Dave Filoni's movie, and then a 3rd trilogy movie that wraps everything up for good. Like, hey, we got money, we can do this. Jon Favreau, you get your movie. Dave Filoni, you get your movie. This 3rd movie, we'll figure it out based on the success of The Mandalorian and Grogu. That sounds like a business decision, more so than a creative decision, if you will. So take that with a grain of salt until we actually get The Mandalorian and Grogu. The backup of if this movie does middle to lower expectations is to retool Filoni's movie to be the last of it. So it's a duo of movies instead of a new trilogy of movies. Because we already know we're getting Filoni's movie. I think
this just holistically leans into the strategy that, Bob Iger laid out when he returned to Disney of like, they're going to be doing more of what works. I mean, I think that one of the first things that happened was there was an announcement of like more Frozen, more Toy Story,
more Frozen,
Zootopia.
Frozen 3 and 4, Mike. I've never heard of this.
So there's just, I mean, so that's exactly what's happening here. They're looking at the Star Wars stuff that's working best, that's got the most eyeballs on it, turn it into a movie, because that's the best way, surprise, to make money in Hollywood is selling tickets at a movie theater, because all of the profit from a streaming service, it's all nebulous, right? You gotta make a meeting with your accountant or like your analytics department or some sort of like statistics PhD at your streaming network to decide if anything that you're doing is actually working and driving sales, right? When you make a movie, it's very simple. What's the budget? How many tickets
it's
are
a
you
one-to-one.
selling? And even if you like, if you're not Disney, you could license it to a totally different streamer and make even more money off of it. So not super surprised that this is the strategy moving forward.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, the Mandalorian, Grogu, quote unquote baby Yoda toys, like this is what's selling merchandise in Star Wars right now. You know how many lightsabers are on the shelves right now? I think 2, which is disappointing because I love lightsabers. I love buying lightsabers and looking at them and playing with them. So, it sounds like this is just, hey, we're gonna do this. It's also, I think, as on a personal ended on a movie, that's a pretty cool thing to do, because then that tells me they have a plan for it rather than we're just going to go until we feel like we want to end it kind of deal. And then, it would, at that point, would just drag on rather than end how they wanted it to end, if you will. In this same announcement I would say the bottom, but like, kind of at the end is the confirmation that Ahsoka season 2 is being worked on by Dave Filoni. And we get to see, they shared a concept art of, from Dave Filoni's work on. The story continues, autographed by Dave Filoni, with Ahsoka and Sabine on the Mortis gods, the father. Last scene at the end of Ahsoka with what's his the actor? It's Ray Stevenson's character, Balin. So that is our confirmation. They are going to keep continuing that story, and it's not just going to end there and be there. So it sounds like to me, Mike, Mando and Grogu movie first, Ahsoka season 2. Then Dave Filoni's movie right after is how this is going to work out for us. If not Ahsoka season 1, because I think TV flips around quicker, I think, than a movie.
This is going to be the biggest hindrance to them overall when it comes to like a box office in general. Like if you want to return one day Disney to those $1 billion kind of like box office returns, like it's probably not going to be with turning something that started on streaming into a movie, right? Mm-hmm. Because I always do like the parents test, right? Like I don't know how I get my parents to the theaters to see something like the Dave Filoni's movie, like maybe the Mando movie, just because the character looks like Boba Fett, Mm-hmm. But like it's going to be hard to get a wealth of mainstream audiences to things like that, and then.
You said, but slap Star Wars. Slap Star Wars on it. People go see Star Wars. I mean, the last movie, which everybody hated, made still like $2 billion. So I think you slap Star Wars on it. I don't think getting butts in seats is going to be the problem. I'm glad they're continuing it. I would just like to know a release schedule for this stuff, right? Because they're like, okay, well, Dave's doing a movie. We announced it several months ago, Star Wars Celebration. Well, now John's doing a movie and it's coming out first. I'm like, okay, when is Dave's movie coming out? Like, when's all this going to tie together? Is it Thrawn the bad guy for Mando and Grogu, or it's who's going to be, for me, we go back to Mandalorian and Grogu, who's going to be the bad guy? Is it more is there a Moff Gideon clone? Is it General Thrawn? The Shadow Council? I don't know. I think that's interesting. And Ahsoka season 2, if it just kind of ended there, went to Dave's movie, I think you're going to have to do a lot of lifting in the thing. Now, if they do a shorter season, they probably won't. They'll do their 8-episode seasons because that's what they love to do there. We'll see, but I'd be interested in seeing this. I really, I'm excited to have a, I guess Favreau Filoni box set one day of like their stories all combined. I think that would be really cool. But I just want to know when all this is coming out. Like, how long do we have to keep waiting? Because again, speed doesn't mean quality, but I'd love to know when we're going to be getting all this stuff, because everything's kind of moving around. How all the expectations we've come to get, the comfort of the Disney Plus release schedule is gone with all this stuff. So I'd want to kind of, I'd like to know. I think that would scratch my itch, if you will, a little bit. But we'll see. The other thing about Mandalorian, you and me actually talked about this because we had a phone call earlier in the middle of the week. One of the cool parts about Mando and Grogu going to movies is, guess what? They don't have to use the volume, Mike, right? We talked about like them actually building real sets for that. And I think how cool that would be to have real sets for some of that stuff now.
Yeah. Paid off in strides for Andor, so I'd love to see that for Mando.
Yeah, and we got some stuff to talk about Andor later, so we'll keep you posted. Indiana Jones has a game coming out from Bethesda, and the title has supposedly leaked for it. We're supposed to see it, I think this week or next week from Xbox, is Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Name's not really doing it for me. I hope it's a good game. Names don't necessarily do it, but what is a Great Circle? Mike, is it just a bigger circle than your normal circle?
It's great.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a way to, transcend the IP. I still haven't watched The Dial of Destiny, which is something I never thought would have happened before, of like, a brand new Indiana Jones movie, and I didn't see it in theaters the first day that it came out. But, a video game has a chance to maybe elevate it in a different way, so that surprisingly intrigues me a little bit more than another film. What's
great about the games, again, Bethesda's great for single player games. I think a video game, a single player story, right? We look at Spider-Man, we look at God of War, games that we've both played recently. Is a movie's 2.5 hours. A video game's like 12 hours, right? 12 to 20 or more when you're playing with a character. So like you spend a lot more time with the character. You learn more about the world. I kind of want to know, is it going to be like a Lara Croft style game? Is it more tomb raiding? You probably, will have a gun and a whip, but like, you're not really brawling a lot with Indiana Jones, right? You're more dealing with puzzles and traps and, quote unquote speed runs because you got to get there fast, if you will. So I'd be excited to see what the gameplay is and spend some time with the character, going out a little bit. I was at a Peddler's Mall this weekend, Mike, I was telling you, and I got really excited because I saw a VHS copy of Indiana Jones, and I grabbed it, and it's young Indiana Jones. And I'm like, that's disappointing. I was really hoping it was an Indiana Jones movie, but it wasn't. Madam Web, have you seen the new costumes, Mike? Because, ooh, buddy, those were leaked.
I have not.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to drop a photo in our chat here. So all of the characters' outfits were released, but there was a quote unquote leak on like I think a shampoo bottle or promo for some of this stuff. So I'm gonna drop you a Reddit link and everything. I'll link it in our show notes too, because I have had some conversations about this with people this week. Because I love it when people send me things. Please keep doing it. It is awesome. I'm not complaining, but the actress here, I forget her name, does not have black hair in any of the trailers. Mike, she has brown hair, and this outfit is wild.
I'm just curious how you back into a costume, right? From the trailer, even the villain kind of has this nondescript spider adjacent costume, which, if he's like a time traveler, who knows when he could have possibly made this suit. This is like straight up a comic book outfit. It kind of looks straight out of the 90s, to be honest. It kind of looks cool,
yeah.
But I just don't understand how the movie trailer rewatch backs into this design, and I think it's going to be hilarious, and I'll roll my eyes. But that's just everything Sony Spider-Man universe.
She joins an underground wrestling circuit, Mike, and she needs to get an outfit for the wrestling circuit. That's what it is. But I'm going to send you a photo. So I'll link this Reddit thing so you can see the outfit for Madam Web. We kind of saw the other ones here. But like, if you look at this is a screenshot from the movie, featuring, 3 of the 4 leads. She's got brown hair and a straight brown hair, red jacket, black leggings. How did she get from that to the, kind of, I guess it's not curled. Is it like black hair and white suit?
Do not question the great power that is Madam Web looking through time and space. Yeah. If she wants her hair wavy, she gets her hair wavy. And I guess since this came from a shampoo bottle, I guess that kind of helps.
Yes. Well, and now it was officially leaked. But I this reminds me of that guy who was in the Amazon with my mom when she was killed. Yeah, we put that big asterisk beside it. It's gonna be weird. I'm not excited for this. We are a month away from this, Mike. We are 4 weeks away from this movie coming out. So yeah, as I've been saying all day, buckle up. But I've just I'm interested to see this. But this is wild. Check out our show notes if you want to see what that looks like. Tales of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, not Rise. That was Nickelodeon show. This is the spinoff for Mutant Mayhem, Mike. The show that will debut Q3 2024 on Paramount Plus. So that was a promo image that was up for a little bit, and it was taken down. But apparently it will run for 2 seasons and bridge the gap between the first and upcoming sequel to Mutant Mayhem as well.
I mean, I'll check it out. I'm curious what just the strategy of Paramount Plus overall is, because there doesn't really seem to be any except make more Star Trek, right? Mm-hmm. So is this supposed to be like a premium streaming bridge that takes me from one movie to another? Or is this like something that, they probably would just dump on Nickelodeon for kids to watch, but if we put it on Paramount Plus, it's like higher quality. So, I'm going to have very low expectations when I check it out, because something tells me it's not going to quite reach the same visual fidelity of Mutant Mayhem, which was just like beautiful and gorgeous, textures everywhere.
Yeah, and I wouldn't expect that either. A TV show made for streaming versus that movie, which took years to make, while they're making a second movie. I wouldn't expect that. We've not seen the look yet, I think, anywhere. Even the image was just mostly promotional errors. But it's cool to get more, at least, connected Turtle content, rather than, hey, we're going to do another 14th reboot on Nickelodeon that nobody's going to watch except small children. So I think it's a cool thing. And then also the fact that it'll actually serve as the bridge between that. So if you like, okay, I want to watch some Turtle content before the new movie comes out, which probably will have Shredder in it, that'd be the way to do it. Because, Turtles unexpected animated hit from last year. Did a good job. Let's talk about empires. We got 2 empires to talk about. One is Ghostbusters, Frozen Empire, Mike. It has moved up to March 22nd, so it's forward a week rather than backwards a week. Sony's got feeling good about their Ghostbusters. Busted makes them feel good, if you will. So I'm excited to watch it. Like I said, I had a good time revisiting the other one that came out a couple years ago. So we'll return back to this. It'll be in New York with a villain who controls ice. And if you'll allow me, I'll go on to the next empire, which is Godzilla X Kong. The new empire has moved up to take that slot of Frozen Empire. So March 29th has moved up from April, a couple weeks to take there. What a March is turning out to be here. I'm excited for Godzilla and Kong more than Ghostbusters. Again, we always say we're not Ghostbusters fans. Mike, I know you're not really much of a Godzilla person either. It's fine. I know. I like my camp. I like my cheese. But I didn't realize their names were both Empire until I wrote them down in the notes earlier today. I'm like, is that the new titling? Is that the new titling thing going on?
Man, I live right next to a shopping center called the Empire Center. So maybe I'll just make a whole day of it. Head on over to Target, pop into Lowe's, get some Ghostbusters and Godzilla in my life.
Yeah. So, things moving up is a pretty good sign, but I feel like we're going to get a pretty overcrowded March where one or both of these movies are both going to underperform because they're stepping on each other's toes a little bit. So, we'll come back probably in April and be like, yep, they didn't do as well because, we told you so. But you mentioned Paramount and Star Trek. Guess what? We got some Star Trek news. There's a prequel movie coming up, decades before the 2009 reboot, the Abrams verse. They're sticking in there. They're doing one several decades before, and it's coming from Toby Haynes, who was a director of 7 of the Andor episodes from season 1. The first 3, and I think the last 4.
That's a good freaking start. I mean, I'm not a Star Trek guy. I know a lot of people are and probably have very, very, very strong opinions about this. But the only time I've really ever connected to the franchise is from a couple of those Abrams movies, right? And one thing that I really liked about Star Trek that we really didn't explore all that much was the stuff that's happening on Earth. And I know some people are probably rolling their eyes like, no, Star Trek, it's about exploring space. But I think the whole reason they're out in space is because they have like this utopian society on Earth. You know, they figured out, you know, how it all works. And I think that's kind of neat, you know. I don't know if this means that we're going to be looking at, you know, the is it called Starfleet, or am I thinking of Buzz Lightyear? Is that called Starfleet?
That's Star Command. Star Command, yeah.
Yeah, whatever the space organization that exists on terrestrial Earth, I think that's kind of neat. Like in that Star Trek Into Darkness, that was the sequel, right?
Yeah.
When that third act kind of transpired on the planet, I thought that was pretty cool, even though the movie overall people are mixed on. But yeah, I would be excited to go back to this universe. I think it's fun.
Yeah, well, Star Trek either needs to move forward with Star Trek 4, which is also in the plan as well, they said, or go backwards. Like, Star Trek's experiencing a renaissance right now, right? Like, on Paramount Plus. There's a Star Trek Discovery. There's several spin-offs to that. I think it's not First Contact. It's the one's the Captain Pike prequel show. Like it's got the animated show Below Deck, or whatever it's called. Is it Below Decks Star Trek? Whatever it is. There's so much.
Yeah, and there's even like a kids show too, like a 3D animated kid show. I think it's called Prodigy or something.
Yeah, right. So Star Trek is like it's out here, it's thriving, it's throwing things, it's trying everything at the wall, and people are enjoying it, getting more. So yes, it needs to go back to the theaters, whether it's a continuation of that or a continuation of the show, which is how the original Star Trek movies started. We're just continuations of the show. Let's run with that. Put it out there. So I agree. And then Toby Haynes, Andor, he knows how to handle space / interplanetary / alien drama very well. So I think it would be he's a great person to have on board for this movie as a director. So good on them. Keep at it. Lastly, I put this topic in here, Edge of Tomorrow. And honestly, I actually didn't know this happened, Mike, and you may have more insight than I do, or maybe you heard more. But Tom Cruise has left Paramount to go to Warner Brothers. Apparently, he had enough of them, and they had enough of him, and he has now signed a big deal at Warner Brothers, which is weird because was it Christopher Nolan's leaving Warner Brothers because of everything they've done?
Yeah, are they just trading like big Hollywood power hitters?
Yeah. So, but I think Edge of Tomorrow, or Tom Cruise is saying he's going to be working on new and existing franchises, and I think Edge of Tomorrow, which is also called Live, Die, Repeat, whatever you want to call it, is one of the franchises that they're hoping they pick back up over there, because that sequel's been in talks for a while with them.
That would be cool.
Oh yeah, Emily Blunt's great. That's a great sci-fi movie. Real. I mean, I know it's based on a book or I guess a graphic novel / manga, whatever it's called. But real original like concept stuff there. That was really good. Really enjoyed it.
Live, Die, and Repeat. Live, Die, and Repeat is one of those movies that if it would have come out, you know, in a different decade, you know, like when we were growing up, like in the 80s or 90s, where there wasn't so much media competition out there in the world, it would have been like a solidified classic. It would have lived next
The
to
Matrix,
the Terminators, the Aliens, the Matrixes of the world. It's still a great movie, but you know, it just kind of people just forget that it
it's
exists.
got
that exists.
I also blame horrible name, right? It went through 3 different names, because like if I say Edge of Tomorrow, that I always think of Tomorrowland, or is it Tomorrow World, the Disney movie with George Clooney. Edge of Tomorrow does not sound like how that movie is. Live, Die, Repeat sounds better. That came out after, I think it was on physical release, but like it lives under several names. I'm like, well, just get a better name next time, right? Like a subtitle, something to tell people kind of what's going on. But it's good. But I didn't know there was so much drama with Tom Cruise, Mike. This is news to me. And this is not him standing on Oprah's couch yelling at the world. But apparently he was unhappy with Top Gun's 45-day theatrical window before it went to streaming. Like so much that he like lawyered up to do that. And again, Top Gun 2 is a fun movie. Glad I watched it in theaters. I haven't thought about it since it came out. And he was given a lot of pressure to give thumbs up on Mission Impossible and Days of Thunder TV series, which I didn't even know were in the works. So, cool, I guess. On the flip side, Tom Cruise is also responsible for like was it the newest Mission Impossible? Like he went over budget by like a long shot on that, and he was no longer sending in dailies or script changes to the studio, so the collaboration broke down. So it sounds like everyone's at fault here, and Tom Cruise is a crazy person who does his own stunts to hopefully kill himself one day. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm sure the box office return and critical success of the sequel to Top Gun has only emboldened him to just go anywhere he wants in Hollywood and, go ahead, go crazy.
Yeah, he is crazy. It doesn't have to go anywhere for that. But he was so mad this year. Mission Impossible had a shortened theatrical IMAX window because of Oppenheimer had already secured it. So whoever was working with Christopher Nolan secured a better, longer release in IMAX than he did. And I think that also pushed him over the edge a little bit. So
yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly what you do with a Mission Impossible series. I would say, Ethan Hunt, he kind of is Mission Impossible, right? Yeah. This isn't necessarily like a James Bond universe where there's lots of interesting gadgets. There's always a car. There's kind of like a formula that you expect with James Bond, right? And I suppose it also relies on Bond as well. But with Mission Impossible, I guess, is there just lots of face masks that you're pulling on and off? That's kind of like the main...
Well, we only get the parts with Ethan Hunt, right, where he's he's always going rogue no matter what. He's always rogue. He's never on mission. He's always going rogue, and that's what he is. And he gets forgiven at the end. But like the newest one, like they introduce there are other IMF agents, like younger ones and stuff like that. Like that don't work with him. He has his own team. So there is apparently a bigger organization. And Mission Impossible actually, I don't know if you know, it started as a TV series before it became a movie.
Yes, this is true.
So it's all cyclical. It's coming back. I've not heard anything about this. Days of Thunder I thought was the bigger surprise. Like his Tom Cruise's NASCAR movie from the 90s. I didn't think it was getting anything for that. So I was like, well, that's crazy that they're even doing something. So, but it's fine. It's whatever. They're going to keep milking these franchises till they remilk them again, Mike. They're going to keep this. It's all cyclical. But anyway.
Take your Lactaid, folks.
That's right. Join Scientology. Get those thetans out of your body and watch Tom Cruise movies.
Are they trying to get them out, or are they trying to get them in? I don't remember if thetans were good or bad. They're just looking at them.
You have a level. Are you on the level? I think you're on the level. I don't know. Anyway.
I take a thetan multivitamin. I'm okay.
Yeah, exactly. Lord Xenu appreciates your contributions. Anyway, before we get in trouble, let's get out of here, Mike. If people know what you're up to, what you're doing, where can they find you at, man?
They can read my webcomic at liferewardsrisk.com. Chris, if people want to find you, where are you?
I'm on Instagram, Valdan87, VALDAN, or Video Game Systems of the same name. If people want to know more about our show, where we do this every week and do our news episodes, and the upcoming review, I guess, is Madam Web is our next big review episode. Where can they find all these goodies at?
Hell yeah. If you want to prepare for Madam Web, head on over to superheroslate.com. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, wherever else you love to listen to find podcasts like our own. We got merch, superheroslate.com/store. We love hearing from you. What are you excited for most this year? Is it going to be one of those Empire movies? Is it a Madam Web movie? Is it Deadpool? Let us know what's on your radar. We want to know. We love our super fans, and if you want to be a super fan of Superhero Slate, all you got to do is share the show with a friend, share the show with a buddy, and we will be here next week, folks.
That's right. We'll see you guys then.
Bye.